Hi folks, this is gonna be a playthrough of 999.
9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors.
My name is Monica.
And my name is Ren.
And we're just gonna get started.
A loud noise startled Junpei awake, and his eyes snapped open. As they adjusted to the light, he realized that he didn't recognize his surroundings. Ow! With a crack, Junpei's head connected with something metal. He rolled over and threw out his hand to steady himself, but he found himself groping at empty air. His balance lost, and his still fuzzy mind struggling to understand what was going on, Junpei tumbled down to the cold, gray floor.
Ouch! God damn it! God, what the hell?
Junpei glared around the room, still trying to determine where he'd woken up. The fall had shaken the last cobwebs of sleep from his mind, and finally he understood where he'd fallen from. It was a bed. A 3-level bunk bed, in fact. Junpei had fallen, apparently, from the topmost bunk. His shoulder hurt, his knee hurt, his hip hurt, his entire body hurt. He could feel a bump forming on his forehead, where he'd slammed it against the low ceiling. He wondered if that bump was the reason he felt his vision wavering a bit, but that seemed unlikely. At first, he thought the tremor that ran through his legs was just another effect of his rude awakening, but as he looked around, he realized it was real. The whole room was shaking. Was it an earthquake, he wondered? It didn't seem likely. It was shaking far too quickly for an earthquake. Then again, Junpei had no idea what it was, if not an earthquake. He tried to tell himself it was important. Junpei rubbed the growing bump on his head and gingerly climbed to his feet. His balance regained, he finally took his first good look around the room. And muttered to himself,
Where am I?
His pain momentarily forgotten in the face of the confusion of his circumstances, Junpei looked around the room once again. Minutes passed while Junpei struggled to get his bearings. Then, as suddenly as they had begun, the tremors ceased. A cold silence fell over the room. From somewhere far away, Junpei could hear the sound of metal squeaking. He felt his stomach tighten. There were 1,000 things the sound could have been, but none of the things he could think of were good. In an attempt to distract himself, Junpei looked around the room once more. There was a stove that looked more antique than functional. The 3-level bunk bed had mattresses that were so thin they were little more than blankets. On the other side of the room was an identical bed, and set in the wall between the beds was a slightly dirty iron door. The first thing Junpei noticed about the door was the number roughly emblazoned across it. On the surface of the door, in red paint, someone had written 5.
5? What's this 5 mean?
Suspicious, and still utterly confused, Junpei approached the door slowly. Standing at last in front of the door, Junpei grabbed hold of the L-shaped handle. A push yielded no movement, and a pull the same result. A few more tries cemented the truth in Junpei's mind. It wouldn't open. It didn't matter how much he pushed and shoved. The handle wouldn't budge. Next to the door was an odd-looking device that reminded Junpei of a card reader. It didn't take a genius to figure out that the odd-looking device was keeping the door shut. Junpei knocked hard on the door.
Hey! Hello? Is anyone there? Open the door!
There was no response. Junpei threw his left fist into the door and stopped.
What the hell is this?
He wasn't really sure what else to say. On his left wrist was a bracelet of a sort he'd never seen before. In the center was a large LCD display. It looked like nothing else so much as a watch, but it clearly wasn't that. After all, it showed only a single number.
5. That's the same as the door.
True, the numbers were the same, but he had no idea what that might mean. All he knew was that it was strange and new, and he wanted it off. Junpei flipped his hand over, as if to remove a watch, but the other side of the bracelet was solid. No buckle, no clasp, nothing. He sighed and flipped the thing back over. There were a number of rivets around the rim of the face. Perhaps... He pushed them, but nothing happened. On a watch, they might be dials for adjusting date or time, but on this bracelet, they did nothing. Junpei was at a loss. What was he going to do? Growing more desperate, he began to tug at it. However...
Damn! It's no good. Damn thing won't come off!
A steel ring ran from the face, around Junpei's wrist, and back into the face. He wouldn't be pulling the bracelet off anytime in the near future.
What the hell is the deal with this thing?
Frustration and desperation were beginning to mix as the reality of the situation began to dawn fully on Junpei. So much was happening and none of it made sense. Junpei felt as though he were about to explode.
Where am I? And why the hell am I here? Why? Why? What the hell happened to me?
It was at that moment that he noticed the window. The window was round, rimmed in riveted brass, like a window from an early 20th century ship.
What? Wait, am I in a ship?
Junpei walked slowly toward the window. He could see nothing beyond it but thick, impenetrable darkness. Junpei squinted, trying to see something, anything. It was at that moment.
What the? You gotta be kidding me. What the hell is going on here?
A crack split the glass of the window, and for a moment Junpei stared at it. Then the window burst, and water began to pour into the room.
What the hell? God damn it!
Junpei yelled and spun around. His feet slipping on the water already coming through the window, he ran for the door.
Hey! Anyone! Anyone there! Come on, if you're there, say something!
There was no reply. As Junpei screamed and pounded on the door, the water began to rise. It was now ankle-deep on the floor and rising quickly toward his knees. Things were not looking good for Junpei. Not good at all. He needed to find a way out, and quickly. Junpei ran a hand across his forehead, brushing the sweat out of his eyes, and looked around the room.